on the documentary. I think a lot of people thought that he was just joking around. It turns out he's not. So this is actually a real project that's being made under his G-Unit movement.
A true power broker. Allegedly, while preaching inspiration and empowerment, she's been accused of quietly sidelining black stars and facing serious questions tied to long-running controversies around her elite South African school. Claims she has repeatedly denied, but ones that refuse to disappear no matter how much time passes. And now the volume has been turned all the way up. Way up. Because 50 Cent, the same figure many credit with helping blow the lid off Diddy through that explosive Netflix expose, is now aiming directly at Oprah. His openly suggesting her alleged corruption runs even deeper than other fallen moguls, and this is no longer whispered speculation. This isn't quiet chatter or internet rumors bubbling in dark corners anymore. It's a full-blown wave of accusations so heavy that if even a fraction of them holds weight, it could rewrite Hollywood history in real time. And the timing couldn't be more shocking. Just weeks after the Sean Combs Reckoning hit Netflix, packed with alleged leaked footage, juror stories, and a brutal takedown driven hard by 50 Cent, insiders say the spotlight is shifting fast. According to sources close to the rapper-turned-producer, Oprah's alleged playback mirrors Diddy's in one chilling way. Not just shaping narratives or steering careers, but allegedly holding extreme influence over people's lives. What's rattling people most is where these claims are coming from. Not random online accounts chasing attention, but individuals who say they worked inside her circle. People who claim they saw how the machine actually runs and believe the public image is a carefully polished mask. One former associate, speaking anonymously, didn't hold back at all. They claimed, "She doesn't build kings. She breaks them." And the warning that followed was even darker. According to them, if you cross her, you disappear. That statement alone sent shockwaves through already tense conversations. And here's where the pattern matters, because none of this feels new. We've seen it play out again and again. Powerful figures in entertainment allegedly silencing dissent, shaping public perception, and using influence like a weapon when it benefits them. But Oprah is different. And that's why this hits harder. She's the woman who openly spoke about surviving abuse. The woman who built a brand on uplifting survivors. The woman who founded a school meant to protect young girls. That's exactly why these allegations feel so explosive, because they go far beyond career politics. Critics say it points to something darker, starting with her alleged proximity to people she was expected to stand against. Take Harvey Weinstein, the disgraced producer whose downfall sparked a global reckoning. Back in 2018, singer Seal dropped a scathing post accusing Oprah of knowing about Weinstein's alleged predatory behavior for years. Yet, according to Seal, she stayed silent and even friendly until the situation became impossible to ignore. That accusation alone sent shockwaves through Hollywood and forced uncomfortable conversations behind closed doors. Seal didn't soften his words either. He mocked what he described as a sudden outrage, suggesting the warning signs were always there. He implied that troubling behavior toward young, aspiring actresses was an open secret in elite circles and that selective silence helped protect power for far too long. And he wasn't alone. Others echoed the same frustration, arguing that silence from influential voices can be just as loud as words and sometimes even more damaging. Rose McGowan, one of Harvey Weinstein's most outspoken and relentless accusers, took it even further. She publicly called Oprah as fake as they come, pointing directly to her past friendships with both Weinstein and Russell Simmons. Another powerful figure who has faced serious assault allegations, all of which he has denied. McGowan accused her of supporting what she described as a deeply unhealthy power structure for personal gain, tweeting that the system protects itself first, always. So the question keeps getting louder every time this resurfaces. If Oprah knew, or even suspected, what these men were accused of, why wait until public pressure forced action? That question alone keeps critics circling. But many argue that's only scratching the surface, because the next issue sparks even more heated debate. The Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. When the school opened in 2007, it was praised worldwide as a symbol of hope, a reported $40 million investment designed to uplift, protect, and empower young women with real opportunity. But by 2008, controversy hit hard. A dorm matron faced accusations of inappropriate behavior towards students, though she was later acquitted. Oprah called the situation devastating and promised immediate reforms, emphasizing that student safety came first. Years later, online investigators and former insiders have started re-examining the school's history. Unsettling but unproven claims began circulating. Rumors of students leaving under unclear circumstances. Families who allegedly felt pressured to stay quiet. Allegations that remain unverified. Then came the most extreme whispers circulating in conspiracy spaces involving alleged discoveries near the property. Claims authorities have never confirmed. All of it reignited intense scrutiny. What was once framed as a beacon of hope has now become a lightning rod for suspicion and unanswered questions. There are no official reports, no confirmed police statements. Just leaked messages, deleted posts.
Yeah, this is a real issue. And I think Diddy's lawyers are right when you're talking about somebody who's not, supposed to not be able to be accessed in this way.
And that's super scary. If he, in fact, woke up with a knife to his throat, I mean, that's freaking...
And former staffers who refuse to go on record. Yet, according to them, the stories sound eerily similar. Something feels off, and the silence surrounding it only deepens the suspicion. Now let's connect the dots, because critics argue this story isn't just about Oprah's alleged ties to controversial figures or the shadows hanging over her academy. They say it points to something much bigger. A system where power protects itself, accountability gets delayed, and influence becomes untouchable. And once that system is exposed, the hardest question isn't what happened. It's how long people were willing to look the other way. Critics say it points to a clear pattern of behavior, one that, if accurate, suggests she wasn't just nearby when things happened, but potentially pulling strings quietly behind scenes. That's where the conversations shift from coincidence to control. Because when you line the moments up, they start to feel connected. And one of the most public examples people keep pointing to is a long-running tension with 50 Cent. A clash that didn't come and go. It lingered, resurfaced, and never fully cooled off. Years ago, Oprah reportedly refused to book 50 Cent on her show. Not quietly either. She publicly criticized his music, labeling it misogynistic and harmful. And 50 didn't let that slide. He responded in true 50 fashion, loud and unapologetic. He named his dog after her, openly mocked her fan base, and turned the situation into a running joke. But underneath the humor, there was resentment. She said she was completely against everything represented in his music. So he responded with a simple line that set the tone for years. If they couldn't be friends, then they'd be enemies. And that wasn't just talk. That mindset locked in a long-running tension that never really went away. But here's where the situation shifts in a major way. Because 50 Cent isn't just a rapper holding on to old beef anymore. He's now directly tied to Netflix's The Reckoning, the docuseries that helped dismantle Diddy's empire so aggressively that legal teams were reportedly scrambling to contain the fallout. And now, according to insiders, that same investigative pressure is being aimed at Oprah. The reason? People close to 50 claim Oprah's alleged playbook doesn't just resemble Diddy's methods. They say it follows the same power-driven blueprint, just wrapped in a cleaner, more polished image. That's where critics argue things get even darker. Diddy's downfall came when damaging footage escaped his control. Oprah, on the other hand, has long been viewed as a master of perception. Critics say she doesn't just redirect stories. She allegedly makes them disappear. And if the rumors surrounding her school are even partially accurate, this stops being about careers and headlines. People start questioning whether there was an alleged level of image management that makes other celebrities' scandals look minor by comparison. Think back to how the controversy at her school unfolded in 2007. Oprah didn't hesitate. Staff were removed. Leadership was reshuffled. And the situation was publicly framed as a tragic but isolated failure in oversight. At the time, many praised how quickly she acted. But now critics are asking a different question. What if it wasn't isolated? What if the issues ran deeper than what was first admitted? Former employees and online commenters have hinted at troubling internal rules, though none of this has been proven. They've claimed there were strict communication policies, sudden student transfers that raised eyebrows, and an atmosphere where questioning authority felt risky. These claims remain unverified, but they refuse to disappear. With social media resurfacing old forum posts and deleted Reddit threads, the noise keeps growing. People are comparing notes, digging through timelines, and demanding clarity. Even as there are no official findings backing the most extreme accusations, the questions keep getting louder. Where are these girls? What really goes on behind those locked gates? Those questions haven't gone away. Meanwhile, Oprah's public image remains polished and powerful. She's still widely seen as a moral authority, the woman who grilled Michael Jackson's accusers, the woman who gave massive platforms to survivors, the woman who built a media empire rooted in trust and credibility. But critics say trust only holds as long as secrets stay buried. And they argue those secrets are allegedly stacking up. One example people keep bringing up is a Brazilian healer Oprah once praised publicly, who was later convicted of assaulting hundreds of women. That connection alone raised eyebrows. Then there's a long-running situation with Monique. The actress has said for years that she was allegedly blackballed after refusing to promote Precious without pay, a dispute that nearly derailed her career entirely. That story never fully disappeared. Many still point to it as a quiet example of how power works behind closed doors. Add to that the persistent chatter from Hollywood insiders who claim Oprah doesn't just sidestep controversy, she allegedly manages it. They say narratives don't explode unless she allows them to. And now, with 50 Cent reportedly gathering information, former staffers allegedly beginning to speak, and the internet stitching together details that once seemed unrelated, the pressure feels heavier than ever. But critics stress one key difference. Oprah isn't Diddy. They argue she's sharper, more calculated, and far more deeply embedded in elite circles. Her influence wasn't built overnight. She spent decades positioning herself so that almost nothing reaches her directly. Diddy's collapse came from leaked footage, mounting legal pressure, and public desperation. Oprah has never looked desperate. Observers say she's always 10 steps ahead. And that's what makes this moment feel different. If 50 Cent believes he can take her down the same way others have fallen, critics say he may be underestimating her. Because Oprah doesn't just respond to pressure. She reshapes the narrative entirely. When heat comes her way, the story often changes and the focus shifts somewhere else. That leads to what many are calling the most chilling question of all. If the rumors surrounding her school were ever proven true, if there really were students who left under unexplained circumstances, and if questions remain unanswered, then what else has stayed hidden? These claims remain unverified, but the speculation alone has rattled people. Because at that point, critics argue it wouldn't just be about Oprah anymore. It would be about every powerful figure she defended, every controversy she allegedly softened, and every story that quietly faded after crossing her orbit. We've seen what happens when the queen of daytime television decides someone is a problem. Careers stall, narratives flip, public sympathy vanishes. What the world hasn't really seen is the reverse. What happens when the pressure points back at her? When the questions don't go away? When someone once considered untouchable finds themselves under the same spotlight they helped control? The pieces are shifting fast. The whispers are growing louder. And if even part of what insiders claim is true, people believe Hollywood could be heading toward a clash unlike anything before. This isn't being framed as just another celebrity feud. And it's not just a headline-chasing scandal. Critics are calling it a full-blown reckoning. And if Oprah Winfrey were ever to face one, observers say the fallout wouldn't just be loud. It would be historic. But reckonings rarely stop with one person. They ripple outward, pulling in everyone connected, everyone protected, and everyone who stayed silent. As pressure builds, as alleged documents circulate, and as former allies reportedly begin distancing themselves, one question keeps surfacing. Who's next? And how far would someone with that level of influence be willing to go to keep deeply personal matters out of the spotlight? Because if unanswered questions are only the beginning, critics argue the real concern isn't what's already been discussed. It's what hasn't surfaced yet. Hollywood has shown this pattern before. Power protects power, and those who challenge the top often vanish quietly from the conversation. But when the throne belongs to Oprah Winfrey, critics argue the stakes go far beyond stalled careers. They say the consequences could stretch into every corner her influence has ever reached. And when people say follow the breadcrumbs, the pattern doesn't just feel unsettling, it feels intentional. While Oprah speaks empowerment on camera, insiders claim she's quietly pulling levers behind the scenes, allegedly sidelining rising stars the moment they threaten her position. According to critics, the fallout list isn't random. It reads like a who's who of black entertainment. Take Monique, an Oscar winner riding high after Precious, a film Oprah herself executive produced. But when Monique refused to do unpaid promotional work, critics say the energy shifted fast. Her career appeared to hit a sudden wall. Monique later described the fallout as a modern-day lynching, a phrase that ignited massive backlash. Oprah's camp denied involvement, but critics say the timing raised questions that never fully went away. Then there's Tyler Perry. He once referred to Oprah as his big sister until their relationship reportedly cooled over creative control. Sources claim his project started facing unexpected resistance, distribution delays, quiet doubt about authenticity, behind-the-scenes tension that hadn't existed before. Perry later hinted it was his obligation to let Oprah Winfrey know how I really felt. To critics, that sounded like confirmation of a deep rift. And don't forget Michael Jackson. Oprah initially kept her distance during his trial. Years later, she gave a massive platform to his accusers. To some viewers, it felt less like neutral journalism and more like a decisive shift in alignment. Coincidence or strategy? Critics still debate that. Because one thing they keep saying is Oprah doesn't just pick sides. She allegedly helps define them. What chills critics most is who she didn't distance herself from right away. Harvey Weinstein, Russell Simmons, Don Imus, powerful men accused of serious abuse, all of whom Oprah allegedly maintained relationships with until public outrage made silence impossible. To critics, that contrast speaks louder than any denial, and it's exactly why the questions refuse to disappear. And then there's how Oprah handled the Diddy controversy. Critics say the silence spoke volumes. While other platforms were digging into allegations, Oprah stayed quiet. No deep dives, no tough questions, no commentary. Then the documentary dropped, and suddenly she was nowhere to be found. Critics argue Oprah's silence is never accidental. At her level, quiet isn't neutral. It's strategic. When you operate at the top, alliances aren't just friendships. They are shields, and if powerful men are allegedly protected while critics and whistleblowers get sidelined, the question changes fast. It's no longer about morals. It's about what's being exchanged behind the scenes. That's where scrutiny intensifies. Now let's talk about the school. Because if the claims about professional ruthlessness raise eyebrows, the whispers around the Leadership Academy hit differently. Everyone remembers the 2007 abuse scandal involving a dorm matron. Students came forward. Headlines followed. Oprah framed it publicly as tragic but isolated. But critics now ask what if that was only the surface. Online investigators and former staffers are revisiting timelines, internal rules, and unexplained gaps. They point to unproven claims of students allegedly leaving without explanation. No clear transfers. No formal records. Just empty beds and families who say they were pressured to stay quiet. None of this is confirmed. But the stories persist. Then there's the rumor that chills even hardened observers. Alleged discoveries near the property. To be clear, there are no police reports. No official investigations. Just deleted posts, encrypted messages, and whispers from people afraid to speak publicly. Critics say that fear is exactly why the story won't die. What they claim to know comes from former employees. Allegations that security was tighter than a maximum security facility. Visitors screened heavily. Movements tracked. Questions treated as dangerous. One former teacher, speaking anonymously, described it bluntly. You didn't ask where the girls went. You pretended they were never there. Critics then connect this to how Oprah is accused of handling threats in Hollywood. If she can allegedly freeze out major stars, they ask, what would stop her from making bigger problems fade away? That logic is what fuels current speculation. And this is where 50 Cent re-enters the frame. Because if there's one person known for not backing down, it's him. This is the same figure tied to Netflix's The Reckoning, the docuseries that dismantled Diddy's empire so aggressively that legal teams are still scrambling. Now, sources claim 50 is directing that same intensity toward Oprah. Why? Insiders say is hearing the same unverified stories circulating online. Vanished students. School secrets. An empire that allegedly rewards loyalty and punishes dissent. And if 50's history with Oprah is any indication, critics say he's not trying to critique her. He's trying to tear the image apart. But here's a reality check. Oprah isn't Diddy. She's not careless. She's not sloppy. She's a master of perception. Someone who spent decades building an image so polished that even extreme rumors struggle to stick. And her defenders are already pushing back hard. They say it's jealousy. A personal vendetta. One longtime producer claimed people are twisting a school meant to protect girls into conspiracy. Fair point. But critics argue the defense has cracks. If the 2007 scandal was isolated, why did leadership change so abruptly? Why did security allegedly tighten afterward? And why do former students claim attempts to speak publicly were met with NDAs and legal warnings? None of this has been proven. But the questions won't go away. And timing matters. Oprah's empire is facing heavier scrutiny than ever. Past connections. Long-standing disputes with black women like Monique and Gabrielle Union. Renewed focus on the school. One controversy can be dismissed. A pattern can't.